Hey everybody, Crypto Mentor 99. How you doing? So I just did a video which I'll put in the description below of the best money that you could spend is money invested in yourself. And even though my cryptocurrency or my YouTube channel is about cryptocurrencies and investing, I like to go not so much off topic, but I like to mix it up a little bit and talk about other things. So, as many of you know, I've been to graduate school and then some, and every once in a while I like to pass along like a life lesson or something to consider, something to think about, and if you have a faith background, something to pray about. So, this is information that I've gathered over the years of interviews, like face to face interviews of older people, like in their 80s, 90s, and even into 100. But mostly the older population. And the surveys, the interviews would ask them like what kept you going? Like, how did you live to be this long? Or do you have any regrets? And frankly, I used to hear about this information or, surveys when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I'm like, well, who cares about that? Well, now that I'm in my early 60s, I kind of care about that. And I want to learn people who have lived life, who have perspective that I can learn from, I can glean information from, and without sounding like an old guy, the internet is a great place to learn information, to go to websites. So, anyhow, I'm just going to give you a few just to consider, right? And they're not in any particular order, they're not weighted like, all of the respondents said this, but the one thing that you need to remember, you need to keep going. And you're like, what are you talking about? Well, when you run into an obstacle, when you run into a hardship, yes, you can grieve, and yes, you could maybe take one or two steps back, but you have to keep going, right? You have to persevere, you have to be faithful, you have to be steady. You don't have to always remain calm, but you need to keep moving forward. And as my late mother used to say, Crypto Mentor 99, keep on putting one foot in front of the other. Keep on moving. That was from Mom. It's great. Keep on moving. And I tell that to my adult kids when they come and talk to me. They're in their early to mid 30s. And I say, you know what? Keep moving. Again, you could pause life for a while or pause in a situation and grieve and try to learn from it, and what am I supposed to learn and what can I do different. But at the end of the day, you got to keep going. Another thing that I'm learning for myself, as well as listening and hearing to 100-year-old people, is that you got to live for the day. Like, there's something to be said for living in the present, right? So yes, we could look to the past, and yes, we can look to the future, but let's focus on today and be present for today. And when I say be present, like when you're in a conversation, don't be thinking about 10 different things. Be present, eye contact, head nod. Oh, that's interesting. Do I sound like an old guy? Maybe I do. So be present in your conversations, whether on the phone, in person, but live for today. Because as of right now, I only have today. That's all that I know. Although I'm planning goals for tomorrow and I'm learning from the past, all I have today is right now, living for today. I've heard 100-year-olds from the research that I've read said that they loved talking to people. Like that's what kept them motivated. That's what kept them alert. That's what kept them growing constantly, or not constantly, but interacting with people on a daily basis. And I know some of you may be introverts out there and you're like, Crypto Mentor 99, I don't like to do a lot of talking, or sometimes there's certain social situations that scare me and I'm afraid of and I want to pull back. Hey, that's okay. But just remember that these 100-year-old people, when asked what kind of keeps you going, they loved talking to people. Even though they were introverts or had maybe quieter in life, they always liked, or not always, but they enjoyed talking to people. You got to eat healthy too, as basic as that sounds. From you don't have to order, or not order, buy everything at the grocery store that's organic, because organic produce or organic items are obviously more expensive than like regular carrots or regular cucumbers or regular fish, salmon or whatever. But again, I know a lot of people, and this hurts me to say, I know a lot of people that eat very poorly. And it's not because of lack of income. They just don't eat, and they're not all overweight or obese, but they just have really, really poor diets, and consequently they have poor health. Anyhow, another item that these 100-year-old folks talked about is that they always work through problems. So many of us try to avoid conflict. Maybe we're not good at conflict resolution, but a problem that remains unresolved is not a good situation to be in. I know, I'm a counselor, okay? You have to embrace, like sometimes I tell some of my clients, sometimes I like to speak in word pictures, but it's like hugging a porcupine, okay? It's painful, right? But in the end, when you work through problems within yourself, your job, your marriage, your finances, conflict resolution is a extremely, obviously, healthy way to live, to move forward, to grow, to prosper. You get the point. So don't leave relationships that are frayed and have tension. Just don't throw those people by the wayside, because over time it's going to eat on you inside and taint your taint, meaning change your opinion of people, of the human race, that is not really healthy. Okay, so walk through your problems, and if you don't know how to do that, get help. Seek advice. It doesn't need to be from a professional, someone that you know, someone that you love. There's always someone in your life that's willing to walk with you for a season or two when you're trying to walk through problems that you have with people. This next one I hear a lot: remain optimistic. There's so much in life that can really wear on you that sometimes you just have to laugh at yourself, laugh at the situation, remain optimistic, and not live in this la la land world that everything's perfect. But you'll have to admit, being an optimistic person is way better and takes less energy than being a pessimistic person. And there's more than a few people in my life that are extremely pessimistic. And I love these people, but I don't like being around them for long periods of time, because then it starts to affect me. And with they believe kind of spills over in my life. And I'm like, no, I'm going to think the best about people, the best about a situation, give everybody a second chance, and just remain optimistic. And it's hard. Believe me, it's hard. Some of these 100-year-olds, when asked if they had any regrets, like what do you regret, or what would you want to do over? In some of the surveys, they said, I would do better at school. I would have concentrated more at school. Now, I don't know if that meant to get a better job or to work on some life skill or to have a better attitude, but some said that they would have been more attentive at school. Another one, which would sound like what a 100-year-old person would say, that they would have obeyed their parents more. Who'd have thought? And they would have listened to the advice, the counsel, and the wisdom that their parents had to offer. Being teachable is another important aspect that these 100-year-olds thought was extremely important, to not only respect others and their opinions, people that are different than you, maybe come from a different culture, but they always wanted to remain teachable because they thought that was a great quality to have. So anyhow, just throwing out a few tidbits, and again, this would be a life lesson of what 100-year-olds want to impart wisdom to me and to you, so you can embrace it, you can accept it, you can reject it. Don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger, but I wanted to let you know some life lessons from 100-year-olds. Anyhow, thanks for being part of my family. Appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, CryptoMentor99 at yahoo.com. Love y'all. Bye-bye.